Welcome, my brothers and sisters, to Hump Day Healing with your girl, Smartsistah, and the Smartsistah Show. And the whole point of Hump Day Healing is right now for us to cover intergenerational trauma so we can truly understand what has happened to us and what impact it has had on our ability to unify. In my opinion, I believe until we correct and heal from the intergenerational trauma, we'll never be able to unite as we should. This is the one area left for us to heal before we can truly unite as a people. And I hope that this discussion is going to really shed some light on some areas that will help us to understand some of the behavior that we all have exhibited, or some of the dysfunction that takes place in our community. So therefore, today I'm working on symptom number 2. Now, just to go reiterate what intergenerational trauma is, basically for us as a people, is the fact that slavery had such an impact on us through the generations. Not only our ancestors that were directly impacted by slavery, but the effects of that for all the generations since then. And it really is something that exists. Some of us are in denial, and I'm not talking about a river in Egypt, but we are in denial and don't want to deal with the pain to the point that we try to discourage any kind of understanding or any kind of mental health examination we should have to stay sane. And to me, when it comes to coons, that basically is it. They are for sale. They are bought easily because they do not want to deal with their own intergenerational trauma nor that of our community, and therefore they become tools of white supremacy. So basically, that's intergenerational trauma in a nutshell. Now, last week, the first symptom I talked about was our inability to trust in a lot of situations between each other, in our relationships, in our work, everything, that we have a very hard ability to trust other people. And as I discussed then, it had a lot to do with being taught not to trust other slaves because the slave owners were afraid that we would unite and get together and kill them, which did happen many times. And that is why they tried so hard to keep it going in the community. And unfortunately, it had an effect until now. Now, today's symptom, we're going to talk about anger. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what anger is. In contrast to fear and sadness, anger can provide a surge of energy and make you feel more in charge, rather than feeling vulnerable or helpless. Essentially, anger can be a means of creating a sense of control and power in the face of vulnerability and uncertainty. Now, looking at that definition, that totally explains a lot of the reason we have so much anger in our community, so much anger toward one another, because of our sense of vulnerability and us trying to take some type of control when we don't have any. Basically, think about it. Back in the day, during chattel slavery, how many times do you think we got so angry we couldn't think straight, but you had to hold it in and not say anything and just deal with it? Think about how we were treated on the passage over here. Okay, they say most of our joints were raw down to the bone because of laying in your own feces and urine for 3 months in the journey over here. So therefore, most of us had to heal several months before we could even be sold into slavery. So think about that. All of your backside, your elbows, your knees, all of that being rubbed, because being in that ship, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That I just can't even imagine. Can you imagine the sores, infection, whatever? We made it through that, people. Okay, so that being the case, that anger, what could you do? Many of us still jumped off the boat. We were like, later for this, I'm not going to deal with this. I'd rather die. And many of us did. They said sharks used to follow the ships because they knew they were going to get a meal, because of the ones of us that were either thrown overboard. Many of our tongues were cut out so we could not communicate with one another on the voyage over here, as well as people that were willing to fight being thrown overboard purposefully, or, as I said, people just committing suicide because they couldn't handle it and didn't want to handle it. Okay, so I'm doing these talks for us to really get a grip on what truly, truly has happened to us as a people, because you'll never learn this stuff, since white folks are so damn worried about critical race theory that's not being taught any damn where. But that is the issue. The fact that we don't even have a clue. Many of us feel that the Holocaust was worse than chattel slavery, but you have to understand the Holocaust lasted roughly what, 9-10 years? Slavery was centuries of this. So it's not to compare one atrocity to another, but I'm just saying, think about how the media has put in our brains that the Holocaust was worse. You know, we were happy little slaves, you know, singing and whatever. And that is totally not the case. Many Jewish people have suffered from intergenerational trauma left over from those that lived through the concentration camps. Now, that is an example of what can happen, but that's considered okay to talk about, or to be hold people accountable for things. Okay, hold the Germans, hold the whole world accountable. Who is being held accountable for us? And it happened to us for centuries. We ain't talking a decade. We're talking about hundreds of years. Okay, so this is the impact that this intergenerational trauma has had on us. So in one sense, I want you all to truly understand that and learn to have a little more compassion for each other, because that's why so many of us act the way that we do. And I grapple with forgiving and trying to show humanity myself, because what bothers me is that so many of us can so easily write off another black person and pay no mind, as they say, to the damage that has been done to us. So that's where I really have a problem oftentimes, is how can people treat each other the way they do after all that we've been through. Okay, so getting back to the point about anger, can't you see that is why so many of us, we can fly off the handle so fast, be it parenting, be it our relationships with each other, gang violence, whatever. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we don't value ourselves as much as we should, but then also it's a twisted sense of trying to get some control and trying to show that you have some type of power, or you have something that you can hold on to deal with your own vulnerability. And that makes total sense to me. And if you wonder, that's why so many of us can get so angry so quickly and are willing to kill over it. Sometimes I look at these gangbangers or whoever, they have no regard for anybody and anything, even themselves. But that is a way they can try to control something. They can try to not feel helpless. And unfortunately, so many of us have our society even puts us in that position of being helpless. I mean, look at us now. We're sitting up here looking at the trial for Ahmaud Arbery, and how helpless do you feel? Every time there's a verdict of not guilty on so many accounts, when so many of us have been killed, that is a helplessness that a lot of times we don't want to talk about, but it's there. And all I'm saying is there comes a time that we can't keep feeling that way. We have to take power from the situation and turn it around. It's righteous anger. Okay, for all those that may feel that they're pacifists or they don't believe in violence or whatever, well, there is such thing as righteous anger. That is some of the stuff that we're going to have to deal with in order to heal. You're going to have to deal with your own anger management. And all of us have it in some way, shape, or form. Even passive aggressive people or whatever. There is some point in time when you kind of lose it. You might be the type person that lets it build and build and build and build until one day you just go ham on somebody. That happens too. We all deal with anger in a different way. However, it has the same effect. The fact that you can't get a hold of yourself. Look at how many of us react angrily in a righteous situation. Let's say with police, when you're being degraded or demeaned or whatever, but your anger could be the cause of your death. Let's be honest about it. That is why I tell white folks all the time, you better be glad that many of us do have a good control over our anger, because some of the crap that you do, we could just go ahead and go ham on you all the time. Okay, look how many Karens we see. They're angry. You know, white women's tears can get them whatever they want. Okay, not us, not a black woman, not a black man, not a black child. We get treated like I don't know what for the slightest infraction. But then white folks can do whatever the hell they want to do. You know, look at these hearings on the insurrection. How many of those people got away and will never be found? They're taking forever, dragging their feet. You, as I said before, if they had been black people, they would have slaughtered them all on the steps right there and still be mopping up blood, and still everybody will be locked up. Okay? It's just a damn shame, but it's a truth. There's no way a black person could get angry and skip out on a subpoena. There's no way we can get angry and talk back to the police without some kind of repercussions. Okay, there are always repercussions when we get angry, when we get upset, you know, and even if we show it towards one another, not much happens. There aren't very many consequences, no matter what, even killing another person. You and I both know if we kill somebody white, it's going to get a whole hell of a lot more traction and getting thrown under the jail and the key thrown away than if we kill, say, another black person. That's just another Friday night. That's just acceptable. Okay, so as I said, this is another symptom that we show as a result of intergenerational trauma. And I just want to tell everybody that it's time for you to start looking at each one of these symptoms that I'm going to share. I want you to look at what impact it has had on you personally and your family. A lot of us have grown up with parents that could get irate or had bad coping skills and anger management problems in terms of raising children. Black children have a hard way to go. Very few of them have the luxury of being children. We want to make our kids grown. We don't want them to make mistakes. We beat them. We do a lot of stuff because of our own sickness. I just read an article recently where a lot of black women talk down about their sons in a hope that the slave owner would not sell them. So they might say, oh, well, you know, he's not too bright, or, oh, well, he's a little slow. They said it was a phenomenon that happened a lot because women were afraid that their sons, if they were seen as these strong, smart bucks, they would be sold away from them. So they always tried to downplay them so they could keep them around. And you can see that even till today. Some mothers with their sons still do the same thing. You know, putting them in special ed classes when they don't need it. Some of them did it because they was trying to get money. Others because, you know, he like his daddy. Okay, he's this, he's that. You can see, like I said, these behaviors that we have that come directly out of intergenerational trauma. The fact that some of us, we will beat the brakes off our kids for something small. Why? Because you got anger management problems. You have some issues. So, okay, you do that to your kid. Then when the kid grows up, they do it to theirs. And then there you go. Generation after generation of us beating the brakes off of kids that may not deserve it. No kid deserves that, because as an adult, we should be able to reason and figure it out and discipline our children in another way without damn near killing them. Okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm all for discipline, and we have always had great kids in a lot of ways that have been disciplined, but it's to a degree. Some folks, because of their mental illness, take it too far. But once again, we have to understand as we grow up and understand our parents, understand the trauma, then we can kind of deal better with however it impacted us. So then we understand why we have the anger management problems we have, so we don't keep passing it on. The whole point I want to do with this series is for us to break the cycle. We got to break that cycle and stop. Keep doing the same thing the same way, expecting different results. As Einstein said it equals insanity. So that is it for this week. I thank you for coming back. Please come every Wednesday. I'm gonna post a video where we're gonna go through all the symptoms, how to break the cycle, how to pick a therapist, because as I said before, we all need one, because black folks have been through a hell of a lot, and we've got to heal in order. Only once we fix this will we be able to truly see each other, love each other the way we should, and come together, because time is running out, people. This world is crazy as hell, and the United States is about done with us. You can already see it. You can already see it. So thanks again. Subscribe. Turn on your notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And just go to my site. Go to my site, Smartsistah.com, and then you can see other videos. You can sign up for my mailing list, and we can keep this going and keep healing. Okay? So you all take care, and remember to always know thyself.